No, no, no,
No,
Ifeoma
no,
whispered, pressing
no.
her hand against her stomach. Not now. Please, not now. Another contraction
No,
hit,
no,
stronger
no.
this time, and she gasped, doubling over slightly. Around her, travelers rushed past, oblivious. The overhead speakers announced boarding calls in Korean, English, and Chinese. Her flight to Lagos was boarding in 15 minutes. 15 minutes to escape before Min-jae reached her. It wasn't the sharp contraction that seized her belly like a vice. It was him. Kang Min-jae stood 30 feet away, his phone dropping from his hand as his eyes locked onto hers. Her ex-husband. The man who'd told her 9 months ago that she'd destroyed his life. The man who had no idea the baby she was carrying was his. Ifeoma? A hand gripped her elbow. David Chen, her friend and travel companion, appeared at her side, his face pale. What's wrong? Is it the baby? I'm having contraction, she managed through gritted teeth. And he's here. David, he's here. David's eyes widened in panic. Who's here? Min-jae. Welcome to Seoul-Africa Stories. Before we begin, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to bring you more powerful African stories. Also, tell us where you're watching from. Drop your country flag in the comments. She looked up and terror shot through her veins. Min-jae was moving now, cutting through the crowd with the determined precision of a man who'd spent years navigating dangerous situations. His black suit was immaculate, his expression unreadable, but his eyes burned with an intensity that made her knees weak. He'd seen her belly. After 9 months of hiding, after careful planning and secret flights and lies to mutual friends, he'd finally seen the truth. And he was coming for answers. We need to get you to a hospital, David said urgently, trying to guide her toward the exit. No. Ifeoma straightened despite the pain radiating through her lower back. If I go to a hospital here, he'll find me. He owns half the medical centers in Seoul. I need to get on that plane. Ifeoma, you're in labor. You can't fly to Lagos like this. Watch me. She took 3 steps toward the gate before another contraction stopped her cold. This one was different, sharper, more insistent. Her daughter was coming, and she was coming now, whether Ifeoma was ready or not. Through the haze of pain, she saw Min-jae getting closer. 20 feet, 15. His jaw was clenched, his hands balled into fists at his sides. Behind him, she spotted Park Sang-woo and 2 other men she recognized from Min-jae's inner circle, fanning out like they were executing a coordinated strategy. They were blocking her exits. Ifeoma. Min-jae's voice cut through the airport noise, sharp and commanding. Don't move. Something inside her snapped. 9 months of fear, of running, of pretending she didn't miss him every single day despite everything that had broken between them. 9 months of carrying his child alone, making impossible decisions, crying herself to sleep in strange cities where no one knew her name. Don't move, she repeated, her Nigerian accent thick with fury and pain. You have no right to tell me what to do. Not anymore. You're pregnant. His voice was flat, emotionless, but his eyes told a different story. They were wild, desperate, searching her face for explanations she wasn't ready to give. How far along? None of your business. How far along? Another contraction seized her, and this time she couldn't hide it. Her knees buckled slightly, and David caught her, supporting her weight. Min-jae's mask cracked. For just a moment, raw fear flashed across his features. 8 months. She gasped out, not sure why she was answering. Maybe because the pain was stripping away her defenses. Maybe because some part of her was tired of running. Almost 9. She watched him do the math. Watched the exact moment the realization hit him like a bullet. His face went white. His hands started to shake before he shoved them into his pockets. A tell she recognized from 1,000 business meetings where he'd fought to maintain control. It's mine, he said. Not a question. A statement of fact delivered in a voice that could have frozen fire. Don't, Ifeoma warned, but another contraction cut off her words. Stronger this time, closer together. Her daughter was not waiting for anyone. Min-jae closed the distance between them in 3 long strides. David moved to block him, but Min-jae's associates were already there, gently but firmly moving David aside. Not threatening, not violent, just impossibly efficient in the way that made Min-jae's organization so effective. Then Min-jae was right in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, the same scent that used to cling to his shirts when she buried her face in them during happier times. His hand reached out, hesitated, then settled on her shoulder with surprising gentleness. "You're in labor," he said, his voice softer now, but no less intense. "You need medical attention. Now. I need to get on that plane. Ifeoma, for once in your stubborn life, listen to me. You're not getting on any plane. You're having a baby. My baby, apparently, though we're definitely going to talk about why I'm finding this out in an airport terminal 9 months too late." "We have nothing to talk about," she hissed, but the words lacked conviction. Another contraction was building, and she could feel it coming like a wave about to crash over her head. "You've been carrying my child this entire time, and you didn't tell me," Min-jae said, and now there was anger threading through his voice, hot and sharp. "You were going to fly to Nigeria and what? Raise our daughter alone? Never tell me she existed? How did you know it's a girl?" The question slipped out before she could stop it, and Min-jae's expression shifted into something she couldn't quite read. "Because I've known about the pregnancy for 3 months," he said quietly. The world tilted sideways. Ifeoma stared at him, unable to process what she'd just heard. "What?" "I've had someone watching you since the divorce. Not to hurt you," he added quickly when he saw her face. "To protect you. You think my enemies forgot about you just because we signed papers? You needed protection whether you wanted it or not. You've been stalking me for 9 months? I've been keeping you alive for 9 months," he corrected, his voice rising slightly. "And 3 months ago, my security team reported that you'd visited an obstetrician in Boston. So yes, Ifeoma, I know about the baby. I know you're having a girl. I know you've been taking prenatal vitamins from a pharmacy on Newberry Street. I know you've been craving fufu and egusi soup at 3 in the morning. I know everything except why you thought I didn't deserve to know I was going to be a father." Tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Because you told me I ruined your life. Because you said you wished you'd never met me. Because every word you spoke to me in our last conversation was designed to make me hurt the way you were hurting, and it worked, Min-jae. It worked perfectly. So forgive me for not showing up on your doorstep pregnant, asking the man who hates me to play happy family." Min-jae flinched like she'd struck him. "I never hated you. You did a remarkable impression of it. I was angry. I was hurt. I said things I didn't mean because I wanted you to feel what I was feeling. And that was wrong. And I've regretted every word for 9 months. But Ifeoma, I never stopped." He cut himself off abruptly, his jaw clenching. Around them, airport security was starting to notice the scene they were creating. A small crowd had gathered at a discreet distance, phones out, probably recording. In a few hours, this would be all over Korean social media. The mysterious Kang Min-jae having a public confrontation with a pregnant woman in the airport. His reputation, so carefully cultivated, was about to take a hit he might not recover from. And he didn't seem to care. "You need a hospital," he said again, and this time his hand moved from her shoulder to cup her face, a gesture so familiar and so heartbreaking that Ifeoma nearly sobbed. "Please, let me take you to a hospital. Let me be there when our daughter is born. You can hate me later. You can fly to Lagos next week if you still want to. But right now, you're in labor, and I'm not letting you do this alone. You don't get to make that choice." "Then make it yourself," Min-jae challenged. "Tell me honestly, right now, that you want to have this baby alone in an airport or on a plane somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. Tell me you don't want proper medical care, pain management, a team of doctors making sure both you and our daughter come through this safely. Tell me that, and I'll walk away right now." Ifeoma wanted to. She wanted to be strong enough to spit in his face and board that plane and prove that she didn't need him, had never needed him, could raise their daughter perfectly well on her own in Lagos, surrounded by her family and the life she'd left behind when she married into Min-jae's complicated world. But another contraction hit, and this one brought her to her knees. Min-jae caught her before she hit the ground, his arms wrapping around her with a strength and certainty that had always made her feel safe, back when she believed safety was something they could have together. She could feel his heart hammering against her back, could hear his sharp intake of breath as he held her through the pain. "Okay," she gasped out when she could breathe again. "Okay. Hospital." But Min-jae, If you think this changes anything between us, it changes everything, he interrupted, and there was something fierce in his voice now, something possessive that sent shivers down her spine despite the circumstances. But we'll fight about that later. Right now, we're having a baby. He lifted her into his arms like she weighed nothing, despite her 8 months pregnant bulk, and started moving toward the exit with the kind of focused intensity she remembered from their marriage. When Min-jae decided something was going to happen, heaven and earth moved to make it so. Sang-woo appeared with a phone already to his ear. Seoul National University Hospital is ready for you. Private suite, full medical team standing by. ETA, 12 minutes. Make it 8, Min-jae commanded. Sir, traffic. Make it 8. David was running alongside them now, carrying Ifeoma's bags, his expression caught between concern and complete bewilderment. What just happened? Ifeoma, are you sure about this? Was she sure? No, she wasn't sure about anything except that her daughter was coming, and despite everything that had broken between her and Min-jae, despite 9 months of hurt and anger and loneliness, she couldn't deny the relief flooding through her at not having to face this alone. The automatic doors slid open, and the humid Seoul evening air hit her face. A black car was already waiting at the curb, door open, engine running. Min-jae slid into the back seat with her still in his arms, refusing to let go even as he barked orders to the driver in rapid Korean. As the car pulled away from the terminal with Sang-woo's vehicle close behind, Ifeoma looked back at the airport, at the departure boards listing her flight to Lagos that would leave in 10 minutes without her. She'd spent 9 months running from this man, from their shared past, from the love that had turned to poison in both their veins. But their daughter had other plans, and as another contraction seized her, stronger and more insistent than all the others, Ifeoma realized that, ready or not, everything was about to change. Now, friends, if you're enjoying this story so far, hit the like button and subscribe to Seoul-Africa Stories. And don't forget to comment where you're tuning in from, your city or country. We love seeing our global family. The car tore through Seoul traffic like it was parting the Red Sea. Horns blared. Tires squealed. Ifeoma didn't care. Another contraction ripped through her, and she dug her fingers into Min-jae's arm hard enough to leave marks. Breathe, Min-jae said, his voice steady despite the tension radiating from every line of his body. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Remember the breathing exercises from... Don't you dare, Ifeoma cut him off through gritted teeth. Don't you dare pretend you were there for any of this. You don't get to act like you know anything about my pregnancy. Min-jae's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. His hand moved to her lower back, applying pressure exactly where she needed it without being asked. Muscle memory from a marriage that felt like a lifetime ago. Back when they'd talked about having children someday, when someday seemed far enough away to be safe. The contraction passed, and Ifeoma sagged against him, exhausted. They'd been in the car for maybe 4 minutes. 4 minutes that felt like hours. How far apart are they? David asked from the front seat, his phone out. Probably Googling labor stages like that would help. 3 minutes, Min-jae answered before Ifeoma could. Maybe less. This baby isn't waiting. How do you know that? Ifeoma demanded, pulling away from him as much as the confined space allowed. You're not a doctor. You're not. I read 12 books on pregnancy and childbirth, Min-jae said flatly. Watched 17 hours of birthing videos. Consulted with 3 different obstetricians about what to expect. So yes, Ifeoma, I know what's happening to your body right now. Probably better than you do, since you spent the last 9 months pretending you could handle everything alone. The accusation stung because it was true. She'd been so focused on staying hidden, on building a life without him, that she'd skipped prenatal classes. She'd missed appointments. She'd convinced herself that women had been giving birth for thousands of years without help, so she could too. I wasn't alone. She said defensively, I had my family. I had friends. You had people who didn't know you were carrying the child of one of the most dangerous men in Seoul, Min-jae countered. People who couldn't protect you if my enemies decided to use you to get to me. Do you have any idea how vulnerable you've been? Your enemies? Ifeoma's laugh was bitter. Minjae, I left because I didn't want to live in a world where my husband's enemies were my concern. I left because I was tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of wondering if every stranger on the street was a threat, tired of being married to someone who kept more secrets than truths. And yet here you are, carrying my daughter, which means you're still a target whether you like it or not. That's not. Another contraction hit, cutting off her protest. This one was worse, sharper. She felt pressure low in her pelvis that made her cry out despite her determination to stay strong. Minjae's arms tightened around her, and she hated how much she needed that support, how right it felt to have him holding her through this. We're 2 minutes out, the driver called back in Korean. Make it one, Minjae snapped. The car accelerated. Ifeoma closed her eyes, trying to focus on breathing, on staying calm, on anything except the fact that she was about to give birth, and the father of her child was a man she'd spent 9 months trying to forget. Why didn't you tell me? Minjae's voice was quieter now, almost vulnerable in a way she rarely heard from him. When you found out you were pregnant, why didn't you call? Why didn't you give me a chance to? To what? Ifeoma opened her eyes and looked at him directly. To tell me it was a mistake? To suggest I get rid of it? To trap me in a marriage that was already dead? To be a father, Minjae said, and the raw pain in those 3 words nearly broke her. You didn't give me a chance to be a father to my own child. You said I ruined your life. I was angry. You said you wished you'd never met me. I was hurt. You said, I know what I said. Minjae's control finally cracked, his voice rising. I remember every word, Ifeoma. Every single word I threw at you like weapons because I was too much of a coward to tell you the truth. That I was terrified. That I didn't know how to be the man you needed. That my world was too dark and too dangerous for someone like you, and I was watching you dim a little more every day we stayed together. Ifeoma stared at him, shocked into silence. In their entire relationship, Minjae had never admitted fear, never shown weakness. He was always controlled, always 3 steps ahead, always certain of every decision he made. So I pushed you away, Minjae continued, his voice rough. I said the cruelest things I could think of because I thought if you hated me enough, you'd leave and never look back. You'd be free of me and everything that comes with being married to someone like me. It was supposed to protect you. That's the most selfish thing I've ever heard, Ifeoma whispered. I know. You don't get to make my choices for me. I know. You destroyed us because you decided unilaterally that we were better off apart. I know. The car screeched to a halt. Ifeoma looked out the window to see they'd arrived at Seoul National University Hospital's private entrance. A team of medical personnel in scrubs was already rushing toward them with a wheelchair, coordinated and efficient in a way that spoke of Minjae's influence and money. Can you walk? Minjae asked. I can. Another contraction cut her off, and this time there was no hiding the scream that tore from her throat. Something was different. The pressure was overwhelming, urgent, like her body was demanding immediate action. Minjae didn't wait for permission. He shoved the car door open and lifted her out, moving toward the wheelchair with swift efficiency. But Ifeoma grabbed his shirt, her fingers twisting in the expensive fabric. Don't leave, she gasped out, hating herself for the weakness, for the need, for the truth she couldn't deny anymore. Minjae, don't leave me, please. His eyes met hers, dark and intense and full of emotions she couldn't begin to untangle. I'm not going anywhere, he said firmly. Not now, not ever again. You're stuck with me, Ifeoma, whether you like it or not. They rushed her inside, fluorescent lights flashing overhead, the squeak of wheels on polished floors, urgent Korean voices calling out medical terms she didn't understand. A doctor appeared, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and efficient hands, asking questions in rapid Korean that Minjae translated. When did the contractions start? At the airport, maybe 20 minutes ago. How far apart? 2 minutes now, maybe less. Any complications during the pregnancy? Ifeoma hesitated. There had been complications, stress-related issues, high blood pressure during her 2nd trimester, a scare at 6 months that had sent her to an emergency room in Boston. Some, she admitted reluctantly. Some? Minjae's voice was sharp. What kind of complications? Nothing serious. Ifeoma, what kind of complications? The doctor intervened, speaking quickly to Minjae in Korean. Whatever she said made his face go pale. He looked at Ifeoma with something close to betrayal in his eyes. High blood pressure? He demanded. You had high blood pressure and you didn't tell anyone? It was under control. You collapsed in Boston and spent 12 hours in a hospital. How do you? Ifeoma stopped, anger flashing through her despite the pain. Your spy, your watcher, they told you everything. They told me you almost died, Minjae said, his voice dangerously quiet. They told me you collapsed in a grocery store, and if someone hadn't called an ambulance, you and our daughter might not be here right now. So yes, Ifeoma, I've been watching. And thank God I was, because apparently you can't be trusted to take care of yourself. I hate you, she hissed. I know. We'll add it to the list of things we're fighting about later. Right now, focus on not dying in childbirth, because you're too stubborn to accept help. They wheeled her into a private delivery room that looked more like a luxury hotel suite than a hospital. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, equipment discreetly hidden behind elegant panels. Minjae's money at work again, turning even childbirth into something controlled and managed. A nurse helped her change into a hospital gown, while another checked her vitals. The doctor examined her, and whatever she found made her speak urgently to her team. What? Ifeoma demanded. What's wrong? Minjae appeared at her side, his hand finding hers. You're at 8 centimeters. The baby's coming fast. They need to prep you for delivery now. 8 centimeters? But I only started labor 20 minutes ago. Sometimes it happens quickly, especially with stress, the doctor explained in accented English. Your body is ready. Your baby is ready. We need to prepare. Everything became a blur of activity. Monitors were attached, an IV was inserted, someone adjusted the bed. Through it all, Minjae stayed beside her, his hand gripping hers, his presence steady and solid in a way she'd forgotten she could rely on. I'm scared, Ifeoma whispered during a brief moment of calm between contractions. I know, Minjae said. Me too. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. I won't allow it. Despite everything, despite the anger and hurt and 9 months of separation, Ifeoma almost smiled at that. Minjae's unshakable certainty that he could control outcomes through sheer force of will. It was arrogant and impossible, and somehow comforting. You can't control everything, she said. Watch me. Another contraction hit, and this one was different, overwhelming. Her entire body seized with the need to push, and she heard herself crying out, heard the doctor giving instructions in Korean, heard Minjae's voice in her ear speaking words she couldn't quite process. She's crowning, someone announced. Mr. Kang, if you're staying, you need to move to her head. I'm staying. Minjae positioned himself behind her, supporting her back, his arms around her in a way that felt protective and possessive. She should push him away. She should demand David or a nurse or anyone else. But she didn't. She let Minjae hold her as their daughter fought her way into the world. Push, the doctor instructed. Big push, Ifeoma. Your baby is almost here. She pushed, channeling 9 months of anger and fear and loneliness into one massive effort. The pain was indescribable, consuming. She heard herself screaming, heard Minjae's voice in her ear telling her she was strong, she was amazing, she could do this. Again, the doctor said, one more big push. I can't, Ifeoma sobbed. I can't do it. Yes, you can. Minjae's voice was fierce in her ear. You're the strongest person I've ever known. You survived me. You survived 9 months alone. You can do anything. Push, Ifeoma. Bring our daughter into this world. She pushed. With everything she had left, she pushed. And then suddenly, there was release. Pressure disappeared. Pain faded into the background. And a baby cried. Their daughter's first cry cut through the room, sharp and indignant and absolutely perfect. Ifeoma's vision blurred with tears as the doctor lifted a tiny, wrinkled, beautiful baby girl into view. She's here, the doctor said with a smile. Congratulations, you have a healthy daughter. They placed the baby on Ifeoma's chest, and the world narrowed to the weight of her daughter against her skin. Tiny fingers, tiny toes, a shock of dark hair and eyes that would probably turn brown like Minjae's. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Ifeoma looked up to see Minjae's face, and what she saw there stole her breath. He was crying. Silent tears streaming down his cheeks as he stared at their daughter with an expression of such pure wonder and love that it hurt to witness. She's perfect, he whispered. Ifeoma, she's perfect. I know. Can I? Minjae hesitated, his hand hovering uncertainly. Can I hold her? Every instinct screamed at Ifeoma to say no, to protect their daughter from a man whose world was dangerous and dark, to keep this perfect moment untainted by complications and consequences. But when she looked at Minjae's face, she saw only a father meeting his daughter for the first time, and she couldn't deny him that. Yes, she whispered. Minjae gathered their daughter into his arms with surprising gentleness, supporting her head carefully, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world, which, Ifeoma realized, she was. Hello, Minjae said softly in Korean, then switched to English. Hello, little one. I'm your father, and I'm so sorry I missed the first 9 months of your life, but I promise you I will never miss another moment. Never again. Are you resonating with this story? Subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let us know in the comments which country you're watching from. We're connecting Africa and the world, one story at a time. The hospital room was quiet, except for the soft beeping of monitors and their daughter's occasional whimpers. 2 hours had passed since the birth. 2 hours of nurses checking vitals, cleaning up, making sure both mother and baby were stable. 2 hours of Minjae refusing to leave, standing guard like he expected threats to materialize from the sterile walls. Ifeoma watched him now, sitting in the chair beside her bed, their daughter cradled in his arms. He hadn't put her down once. Not when the nurses wanted to run tests. Not when they needed to weigh and measure her. Minjae had followed the baby everywhere, his eyes never leaving her tiny form. You need to rest, Ifeoma said quietly, exhaustion pulling at every muscle in her body. I'm fine. Minjae, I said I'm fine. His voice was sharp, defensive. Then he seemed to catch himself, his expression softening. Sorry, I can't stop looking at her. Every time I close my eyes, I'm afraid I'll open them, and this will all be a dream. It's not a dream. Then why does it feel impossible? Ifeoma didn't have an answer for that. She understood what he meant. 2 hours ago, she'd been running from him. Now they were parents together, sharing a hospital room like the past 9 months hadn't happened, like their divorce wasn't final, like everything broken between them could be fixed by the existence of one perfect baby girl. What are you going to name her? Minjae asked suddenly. The question caught Ifeoma off guard. She'd thought about names, of course, had lists written in notebooks back in Lagos, but saying them out loud, making it real, felt too permanent. I don't know yet. You had 9 months? I had 9 months of trying not to think about you, Ifeoma corrected. Every name I considered felt wrong because it meant acknowledging she was half yours, and I wasn't ready for that. Minjae's jaw tightened. And now? Now I don't have a choice, do I? Their daughter squirmed, her tiny face scrunching up in preparation for a cry. Minjae immediately started rocking her gently, his movements instinctive despite never having held a baby before. The crying stopped. Their daughter settled back into sleep, apparently deciding her father was acceptable. She likes you, Ifeoma observed, trying to keep the bitterness from her voice and failing. Is that a problem? Everything about this is a problem, Minjae. Don't pretend otherwise. I'm not pretending anything. Minjae looked up from the baby, his eyes meeting Ifeoma's with an intensity that made her want to look away. I know this is complicated. I know we have 9 months of conversations we need to have. But right now, in this moment, can we just exist? Can we just be two people who made something beautiful together? We're divorced. Paperwork. It's not just paperwork. It's the end of us. It's everything we couldn't fix, everything we couldn't save, all officially stamped and filed and done. Nothing is done, Minjae said firmly, not as long as we share a daughter. Before Ifeoma could argue, a knock sounded at the door. David poked his head in, his expression cautious. Is it okay if I come in? Of course, Ifeoma said quickly, grateful for the interruption. You've been waiting outside all this time? Sangwoo kept me company. David entered fully, holding a stuffed elephant that looked ridiculously expensive. How are you feeling? Tired, sore, confused. That seems reasonable given the circumstances. David approached the bed carefully, his eyes flicking to Minjae with barely concealed wariness. She's beautiful, Ifeoma. Congratulations. Thank you. We should discuss logistics, David said, pulling out his phone. I've been looking at flights. If you rest for a few days, we could potentially... She's not going anywhere, Minjae interrupted. Excuse me? Ifeoma just gave birth. She needs proper recovery time, weeks, not days. And our daughter needs monitoring. Premature labor, stress complications, there are risks. They're staying here where I can ensure they have the best medical care available. You can't just decide that, David said, his voice hardening. Ifeoma has a life in Lagos, family waiting for her. Plans. Plans change. Minjae. Ifeoma's voice cut through the growing tension. Stop. I'm being practical. You're being controlling. Again, this is exactly why we divorced. Minjae's expression shuddered, but not before Ifeoma caught the flash of hurt in his eyes. Good. She wanted him to hurt the way she'd hurt, wanted him to feel even a fraction of the pain she'd carried for 9 months. I'm trying to protect you, Minjae said quietly. I don't need your protection. Yes, you do. Minjae stood carefully, still holding their daughter, and moved to the window. 3 days ago, someone tried to access your medical records in Boston. 2 weeks before that, someone was asking questions about you at your hotel in New York. Last month, a car followed you for 6 blocks in Chicago before my security team intervened. The room went cold. Ifeoma stared at Minjae's back, her heart pounding. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that my enemies know about you. They know we were married. They know we divorced. And now they know you're pregnant, which means they'll figure out soon, if they haven't already, that this baby is mine. Do you understand what that means? You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to make you understand reality. Minjae turned back to face her, and his expression was harder now, more like the businessman she remembered. You think you can go to Lagos and raise our daughter in peace? You think you can pretend you're not connected to me? Ifeoma, the moment you board that plane, you become a target. You and our daughter both. He's right, Sangwoo said from the doorway. Neither of them had noticed him enter. I'm sorry, Mrs. Kang, but the threat is real. We've documented 17 separate incidents of surveillance in the past 3 months alone. Stop calling me Mrs. Kang, Ifeoma said automatically. And I don't believe you. This is just another manipulation tactic. Sangwoo pulled out a tablet and approached the bed. Security footage from Boston, September 15th. He tapped the screen, and grainy video appeared showing Ifeoma leaving her doctor's office. In the background, a man in a dark jacket was clearly photographing her. September 23rd, New York. Another video. A different man, this one following her into a coffee shop. October 2nd, Chicago. Stop, Ifeoma whispered. I don't want to see anymore. You need to see it, Minjae said. You need to understand why I've been watching you, why I can't let you disappear to Lagos with our daughter. It's not about control, Ifeoma. It's about survival. David moved closer to the bed, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Even if the threat is real, that doesn't mean she has to stay in Seoul. There are other options. Private security, safe houses. She could go somewhere neutral. Nowhere is neutral, Minjae said flatly. Not when you're connected to me. Then maybe she shouldn't be connected to you, David shot back. Maybe the best protection is distance. Let her disappear completely. New identity, new location, no ties to you at all. And what happens when our daughter asks about her father, when she wants to know where she came from? Minjae's voice rose slightly. You think I'm going to let my child grow up believing I abandoned her? You did abandon her. For 9 months, you knew Ifeoma was pregnant, and you did nothing. I was giving her space. You were being a coward. Enough! Ifeoma's shout cut through their argument. The baby stirred, whimpering, and Minjae immediately started soothing her, his attention divided between the infant and the escalating conflict. Both of you, enough. David, thank you for defending me, but this isn't your fight. And Minjae, you don't get to make unilateral decisions about my life anymore. I don't care how real the threat is. So what do you want? Minjae demanded. Tell me, Ifeoma, what's your plan? Because from where I'm standing, you don't have one. You were going to fly to Lagos pregnant and alone, give birth in a foreign hospital without proper preparation, and somehow raise our daughter while looking over your shoulder for threats you don't even know how to identify. At least I would have been free. You would have been dead. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ifeoma wanted to argue, wanted to insist he was exaggerating, but the fear in his eyes told her he believed every word. And the security footage on Sangwoo's tablet suggested he might be right. What do you propose? She asked finally, hating that she was even asking. Min-jae's shoulders relaxed slightly. Stay in Seoul, at least for now. Let me provide security while you recover. Let's figure out how to keep both of you safe, and then we can discuss long-term arrangements. I'm not living with you. I have other properties. Take your pick. Penthouse, traditional house, whatever you want. Separate residences. I won't push for more than you're willing to give. And what do you get out of this arrangement? Access to my daughter, Min-jae said simply. I want to be part of her life. I want to know her, watch her grow, be there for first words and first steps and everything I already missed. That's all I'm asking for. It sounded reasonable. Almost too reasonable. Ifeoma searched his face for hidden agendas, ulterior motives, but all she saw was exhaustion and hope and desperate sincerity. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, but think here, where you're safe. A nurse entered before Ifeoma could respond, her smile professional but warm. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the baby needs to feed soon. Would you like help with breastfeeding, or should we prepare formula? The question pulled Ifeoma back to immediate reality. Her daughter needed to eat. Everything else, all the complicated decisions and dangerous threats and unresolved feelings, could wait. Right now, she needed to be a mother. I'll try breastfeeding, she said. Min-jae brought the baby over, placing her gently in Ifeoma's arms. Their hands brushed during the transfer, and electricity sparked between them despite everything. Or maybe because of everything. 9 months of separation hadn't killed what they'd once had. It had just buried it under layers of hurt and anger and broken promises. The nurse helped position the baby, showing Ifeoma the proper hold and latch technique. It was awkward and uncomfortable at first, but then their daughter latched on, and something shifted in Ifeoma's chest. This was her baby, her daughter. And regardless of what happened between her and Min-jae, this little girl deserved parents who could be civil to each other. We'll give you privacy, David said quietly. I'll be outside if you need anything. Wait. Ifeoma looked at him, then at Min-jae, then back to David. Can you book yourself a hotel for tonight? I need to talk to Min-jae. Alone. David's expression showed clear reluctance, but he nodded. Call me if you need anything. And I mean anything. I will. After David and Sangwoo left, the room fell into heavy silence. Min-jae returned to his chair, watching Ifeoma feed their daughter with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. There was wonder there, yes, but also grief. He was mourning everything he'd missed, every moment of pregnancy he hadn't witnessed, every kick and hiccup and milestone that had happened without him. I felt her move for the first time in May, Ifeoma said quietly. I was in Boston, sitting in a park, eating ice cream even though it was barely 50 degrees outside. She kicked, and I laughed and cried at the same time because it was the most amazing feeling in the world, and I was completely alone. Min-jae's hands clenched into fists, but he didn't speak. I had an ultrasound in June where they told me she was a girl. I cried through the whole appointment. The technician probably thought I was upset, but I was just overwhelmed. I picked out nursery colors that day, yellow and gray, because I wanted something bright but calming. I bought her first outfit in July, a tiny dress with elephants on it that made me sob in the middle of a department store. Ifeoma, in August I had the scare you mentioned. I collapsed because my blood pressure spiked, and I spent 12 hours terrified I was going to lose her. They put me on bed rest for 2 weeks, and I had no one to help me, no one to bring me food or keep me company or tell me everything would be okay. I did it all alone, Min-jae. Every single moment of this pregnancy, I handled alone. I know. Min-jae's voice was rough, barely above a whisper. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't there, that you felt like you couldn't call me, that my words hurt you badly enough to make 9 months alone seem preferable to asking for my help. Your words destroyed me. I know. You can't just say sorry and expect that to fix everything. I know that too. Their daughter finished feeding and fell asleep against Ifeoma's chest, milk-drunk and content. Ifeoma adjusted her carefully, marveling at how such a tiny person could already hold so much power over her heart. What happens now? She asked. Now we take it one day at a time, Min-jae said. Now we figure out how to be parents together, even if we can't be married. Now we keep our daughter safe from threats neither of us can control. And maybe, if we're very lucky and work very hard, we figure out how to forgive each other for the ways we've hurt each other. That's a lot of maybes. It's all I have to offer. Ifeoma looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since the airport. He looked older, tired. There were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there during their marriage. He'd suffered too, she realized. Maybe not the same way she had, but suffering nonetheless. Okay, she said finally. Okay? I'll stay in Seoul, temporarily, until we figure out the security situation and I'm recovered enough to travel safely. But Min-jae, this doesn't mean we're back together. This doesn't erase the divorce or fix what broke between us. I understand. And I get to make decisions about our daughter. Where she lives, how she's raised, what kind of life she has. You get input, but I have final say. Min-jae's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Agreed. One more thing. Anything. Her name. Ifeoma looked down at their sleeping daughter. I want to name her something that represents both of us, both our cultures, something that means she belongs to both worlds, even if those worlds are complicated. Min-jae stood and moved closer to the bed, looking down at his daughter with an expression of such profound love that Ifeoma's breath caught. What did you have in mind? Amara, Ifeoma said softly. It means grace in Igbo, grace for the miracle of her existence despite everything we've been through. Amara, Min-jae repeated, testing the name. And a Korean middle name? You choose. Min-jae was quiet for a long moment, his hand hovering over Amara's tiny head before finally gently touching her soft hair. Ji-woo. It means wisdom and support, because she'll need both to navigate the complicated family she's been born into. Amara Ji-woo Kang. It's perfect, Min-jae whispered. She's perfect. 3 days passed in the hospital like a strange dream. 3 days of Min-jae arriving every morning with fresh flowers and leaving every night only when security forced him out. 3 days of learning how to be a mother while navigating the minefield of co-parenting with a man she'd divorced. 3 days of pretending the way he looked at their daughter didn't make her heart ache with possibility. On the 4th morning, Ifeoma was cleared for discharge. The penthouse is ready, Min-jae said, helping her pack the few belongings David had brought from the airport. Top floor, private elevator, security on every entrance. You'll be safe there. I still don't like this. I know. You've mentioned it approximately 47 times. Don't be smart. Can't help it. You married me for my intelligence, remember? Ifeoma shot him a look. I divorced you for your arrogance. Touche. Min-jae carefully folded a baby blanket, his movements precise despite his obvious unfamiliarity with infant care. Sang-woo has a car waiting downstairs. David's already at the penthouse making sure everything meets your standards. David doesn't trust you. David's smart. The admission surprised her. Ifeoma paused in folding Amara's new clothes, studying Min-jae's profile. You're not going to defend yourself? What's to defend? I've given him every reason not to trust me. I hurt you. I pushed you away. I let 9 months pass without fixing what I broke. If I were David, I'd want to protect you from me too. Then why are you here? Min-jae turned to face her fully, and the raw honesty in his expression stole her breath. Because I'm selfish, because I want a second chance I probably don't deserve, because the moment I saw you at that airport, every wall I'd built came crashing down, and I remembered why I fell in love with you in the first place. Don't. Ifeoma held up a hand, her voice shaking. Don't say things like that. Don't make this harder than it already is. Why not? It's the truth. The truth doesn't change anything. We're still divorced. We still said unforgivable things to each other. We still failed at being married. So we won't get married again, Min-jae said simply. We'll just be Amara's parents. 2 people who made a beautiful daughter and are trying their best not to mess her up too badly. A nurse knocked, interrupting before Ifeoma could respond. Mrs. Kang? Sorry to interrupt, but there are some reporters in the lobby asking questions about the baby. Hospital security is handling it, but you might want to leave through the private exit. Ifeoma's stomach dropped. Reporters? How did they find out? Min-jae's expression darkened. Someone leaked it. I'll handle this. How? Let me worry about that. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. Sang-woo, we have a media situation. I need you to. He switched to rapid Korean, his tone sharp and commanding. Within minutes, the room filled with security personnel. Sangwoo appeared with a privacy screen and what looked like a carefully coordinated escape plan. They moved Ifeoma and Amara through back corridors, down service elevators, emerging in an underground parking garage where three identical black cars waited. Decoys, Sangwoo explained, gesturing to two of the vehicles. In case anyone's watching, you'll be in the middle car with Mr. Kang. I'll lead, and Chen will follow. The efficiency was impressive and terrifying. This was Min-jae's world. A world of threats and countermeasures, of assuming danger lurked around every corner, of never being able to simply exist without strategy. Is this what her life will be like? Ifeoma whispered as Min-jae helped her into the car, Amara secure in a brand new car seat. Always running? Always hiding? Only until the threat is neutralized. And how long will that take? Min-jae's silence was answer enough. The drive to the penthouse took 30 minutes through Seoul's afternoon traffic. Ifeoma watched the city pass by the tinted windows, remembering the first time she'd visited Korea. She'd been 23, fresh out of university, doing a semester abroad. Min-jae had been 26, already building his empire, already dangerous in ways she hadn't understood until it was too late. She'd fallen in love with Seoul almost as fast as she'd fallen in love with him. The energy, the contrast of ancient and modern, the food that made her taste buds sing. She'd thought she could make a life here. Thought love was enough to bridge cultural differences and dangerous secrets. She'd been wrong. "What are you thinking?" Min-jae asked quietly. "That I was naive. You were optimistic. There's a difference." "Is there?" Ifeoma looked at him. "Optimism suggests hope for the future. I was just willfully blind to reality." "If you were blind, it's because I worked very hard to keep you that way," Min-jae said. "I wanted you to see only the good parts of my life. I thought I could protect you from the rest. You can't protect people by lying to them. I know that now." The car pulled into an underground garage, and they transferred to a private elevator that required both a keycard and fingerprint scan. The security was suffocating. Ifeoma held Amara closer, feeling the walls closing in. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River, the view breathtaking in the late afternoon light. The space was open and modern, decorated in neutral tones with subtle Korean and African touches that made Ifeoma's throat tight. Someone had paid attention to details she'd mentioned casually during their marriage. Artwork from Lagos, textiles from Igbo markets. Even the scent in the air was familiar, like the jasmine incense her mother burned at home. David emerged from a hallway, tablet in hand. "Everything's been checked. Security system is active. I've stocked the kitchen with groceries, including those plantain chips you like. Nursery is set up in the bedroom to your left." "You did all this in 3 days?" Ifeoma asked, overwhelmed. "I had help." David shot Min-jae a look that wasn't quite hostile, but wasn't friendly either. "Though I made sure everything met safety standards myself. Can't be too careful." "Appreciate the vote of confidence," Min-jae said dryly. Ifeoma explored the penthouse in a daze. 3 bedrooms, each with private bathrooms, a kitchen that looked barely used but fully equipped, a living area that could easily hold 30 people, and the nursery. Her breath caught when she saw it. Yellow and gray, exactly as she'd described. A crib that looked like it cost more than her first car. Shelves already stocked with books and toys. The tiny elephant dress she'd bought in Boston hanging in the closet, along with dozens of other outfits in various sizes. "How did you get this?" She held up the dress, tears threatening. Min-jae stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. "I told you. I've been watching, not to control you, but to know you, to understand what you needed, even if I couldn't be there to provide it. This is too much. It's nowhere near enough." Amara started fussing, hungry again. Ifeoma moved to the rocking chair by the window, settling in to feed her, while Seoul sprawled out below them like a glittering promise. Min-jae hovered uncertainly until Ifeoma gestured to the ottoman nearby. "You can sit. She's your daughter, too." He sat, watching them, with that same expression of wonder he'd worn since the hospital. "I still can't believe she's real. Join the club." "What was it like?" Min-jae asked quietly. "Feeling her move inside you, knowing you were growing a whole person." Ifeoma considered deflecting, maintaining the walls between them, but she was tired of walls, tired of pretending she'd survived the past 9 months without scars. Terrifying, she admitted. Every day I woke up scared something would go wrong, that I'd lose her, that I wasn't strong enough or smart enough or prepared enough to be someone's mother. And lonely. God, Minjae, so lonely. There were moments when I'd feel her kick and want so desperately to share it with someone who understood, with someone who loved her as much as I did. You could have called and said, "What? Hi? Remember me? Your ex-wife? The one you wished you'd never met? Surprise, you're going to be a father?" Ifeoma shook her head. "I couldn't face your rejection. Not again. Better to do it alone than risk you confirming every fear I had. I would never have rejected her. Or you. You already did reject me. I rejected us," Minjae corrected. "There's a difference. I convinced myself we were toxic together, that the only way to save you was to push you away so completely you'd never look back. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done, and I've done some spectacularly stupid things in my life. Despite everything," Ifeoma almost smiled. "That's saying something. I'm not asking you to forgive me," Minjae continued. "I'm not even asking you to understand. I just need you to know that every word I said during our divorce was a lie designed to make you hate me enough to leave. And it worked perfectly, except I didn't anticipate how much it would destroy me too. You seemed fine. I drank myself to sleep every night for 3 months. Sangwoo had to physically stop me from calling you at least a dozen times. I buried myself in work because the alternative was admitting I'd made the biggest mistake of my life and had no idea how to fix it." Amara finished feeding and dozed off against Ifeoma's chest, milk, drunk, and peaceful. Ifeoma adjusted her carefully, then met Minjae's eyes directly. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "I don't know how to be Amara's mother while coexisting with you. I don't know how to let you into her life without letting you back into mine. I don't know how to trust you won't hurt me again." "I will hurt you again," Minjae said bluntly. "Not intentionally, but I'm human and flawed and I'll make mistakes. And you'll hurt me too, because that's what people do when they care about each other. But the difference this time is I'm not running. I'm not pushing you away when things get hard. I'm staying, Ifeoma, whether you like it or not. For how long? Forever. Or until you physically remove me from this penthouse, whichever comes first. I'm not giving you another chance. I'm not asking for one. I'm just asking to be Amara's father. Everything else, we'll figure out as we go." A knock at the door made them both tense. Sangwoo entered, his expression apologetic. "Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. The media leak came from inside the hospital. We've identified the source and are handling it, but more reporters are gathering outside the building. It might be best if you make a brief statement to get ahead of the story." "Absolutely not," Ifeoma said immediately. "It would help control the narrative," Sangwoo pressed gently. "Right now, they're speculating wildly. Some outlets are suggesting reconciliation, others are inventing scandals. A simple statement confirming the birth and asking for privacy might prevent worse stories." Minjae looked at Ifeoma. "It's your call. I'll support whatever you decide." Ifeoma looked down at Amara, at her daughter's peaceful sleeping face, and felt fierce protectiveness surge through her. This baby hadn't asked to be born into complicated circumstances, hadn't asked for parents with a messy history and dangerous connections. She deserved protection, privacy, a chance at normalcy. But maybe normalcy was impossible. Maybe the best Ifeoma could offer was honesty within careful boundaries. "One statement," she said finally, "confirming the birth. No details about reconciliation or relationship status. No photos of Amara, just facts and a request for privacy." "I'll draft something and send it for your approval," Sangwoo said, already typing on his phone. After he left, silence settled over the penthouse. David had disappeared into one of the guest rooms, giving them space. Seoul glittered outside the windows as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "What happens tomorrow?" Ifeoma asked. "Tomorrow I bring breakfast. You rest. We figure out feeding schedules and diaper routines and all the mundane details of keeping a tiny human alive. And after tomorrow, we do it again and again, one day at a time until it stops feeling impossible and starts feeling normal. And if it never feels normal?" Minjae smiled, small and sad and genuine. "Then we adjust our definition of normal." Ifeoma wanted to argue, wanted to demand guarantees and promises and assurances that everything would work out perfectly. But she'd learned the hard way that life didn't work like that. Sometimes you just had to take the next step without knowing where the path led. Okay, she whispered, one day at a time. One day at a time, Minjae echoed. He stood to leave, but Afeoma's voice stopped him at the door. Minjae? Yes? Thank you for being here, for helping, for not running when you found out about Amara. His expression softened. There's nowhere in the world I'd rather be than right here with both of you. Never doubt that. After he left, Ifeoma sat in the rocking chair as darkness fell over Seoul, holding her daughter and trying to imagine their future. It was messy and uncertain, and nothing like she'd planned when she'd boarded that plane to Lagos. But Amara was here, warm and real against her chest, and Minjae was trying, genuinely trying, to be the father their daughter deserved. Maybe that was enough. Maybe they didn't need to have everything figured out tonight. Maybe one day at a time was exactly the right pace for building something new from the ruins of what they'd lost. Before you go, if you've made it this far in the story, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now, because trust me, you're going to want to know what happens next with Ifeoma, Minjae, and baby Amara. Will they find their way back to each other? Can love survive when it's built on broken trust? Drop a comment below telling me what you think should happen next, and don't forget to like this video if their story touched your heart the way it touched mine. Ifeoma looked down at Amara one more time at the tiny miracle that had brought her ex-husband crashing back into her life at an airport terminal. 9 months of running had led to this moment of stillness. 9 months of hiding had led to being found. And somehow, impossibly, it felt less like an ending and more like a beginning. Outside the window, Seoul continued its endless dance of light and shadow. Inside the penthouse, a new family was learning how to breathe together. The story wasn't over. It was only just starting. And this time, maybe they'd get it right. Thank you for watching Seoul-Africa Stories. Before you go, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a powerful story. And once again, drop your country or flag in the comments. We love hearing from our worldwide community. See you in the next story.